Hare Krishna. So I welcome you all in this series of 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gītā in 18 sessions. Today we are going to do the 16th chapter. And it's very interesting because what we could get out of it is a straight way we could work. Doesn't matter what we believe in, but everybody will agree that this is where we are and this is where we should improve ourselves to. Let's start with Mangalacharan. Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnanajanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Yudapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatha Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kancha Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshitarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everyone. So good to have your presence. And let's begin with chapter 16. What we have seen in chapter 15 last week, that chapter 15, the very first verse, and chapter 15 itself is called Purushottam Yoga. The best, Purushottam, the supreme out of all. And that's how we understand, that's how out of all different yogic path, bhakti, devotional service is supreme. But we gave the analogy here. Well, Krishna gives the analogy to Arjuna that in a spiritual world, there is a tree, and material world, there is a reflection of that tree, and it's perverted reflection. It's not the real reflection, and that's why it says that this place is called Dukhalya. So it doesn't matter how much we will try to get pleasure out of it, we will never succeed because it is Dukhalya. We can't get anything else out of Dukhalya, right? A place of misery, how can you get happiness out of it? But some of you might say, no, that's wrong. Well, see, the kids in the school, or sometimes we watch the movies, we enjoy ourselves. We had a great breakfast. We slept so late. We enjoyed ourselves. We are having a great sense gratification. What are you talking about? You don't know about it. You might think that way. But another analogy comes in where we can understand what kind of pleasure we are seeking. So if there is a person and you get hold of his neck, right at the back, and immersed his face in the water. And of course, being humans, we need oxygen. Within the water, we won't find oxygen. And very, very soon, we will seek, we will aim, we will like to eagerly wait for the oxygen. In very few seconds, we will give away. We say we can't hold on. And just the moment when we think we are going to lose our life, the person will take us out. And we will have a big gasp of oxygen as much as we can. And then, before we will realize, that's it, bang, our face is back in the water. Now, that moment when we gasped oxygen, we felt a great pleasure. But that's what we call momentary pleasure. And that kind of pleasure we get here in material world. We do get it, but for how long? Now, of course, for some it could be few seconds, for some it could be years. But sooner or later, the reality is stuck to us. And then we realize, oops, something was wrong. And that's the reason we see the perverted reflection of the spiritual world in material world. And because we are part of Krishna, Krishna is Satyachitananda, we seek Satyachitananda, but we don't get it here in material world. Doesn't matter how much power, how much money, how many family members, doesn't matter whatever we get in whatever capacity, we will never able to be here permanently happy. And that's where eternal comes in. Satya Chitta Ananda. Eternal bliss, and we are conscious of that bliss. Eternal conscious bliss. Satya Chitta Ananda. And what we say here, that if we try to, doesn't even matter whether we will able to reach there or not. For example, a boy is working hard for his maths exam. Maybe he will not get 100%, but even if he will get 98%, 99%, that's good enough, right? That's what this chapter is saying, that even if we will not able to go back to Krishna, somebody say, well, I don't believe going back anywhere. Once you are done, you are done. Nobody knows where we're going to go after we die. And you say, okay, fair enough. But could we say that while we are in material life, there are few things we need to have? Yes. So those qualities which we would like to have, our family members would like to have, we would like to have, even our family members, those qualities are discussed here. Some we want, some we don't. Some we desire, some we don't. We want to get rid of them. And that's where this chapter comes into, chapter 16. Now, chapter 16, if we say 3 sections, in the very first section, first 16 verses, there are only 24 verses here. First 16 verses deals with the transcendental. There are 26 transcendental qualities which we should aspire to have. And then there are main 6 qualities which we should not have. Those are called demonic. Demons, they possess us. And if we will have it, then we will be demon as well. And then, so first we will have the transcendental qualities, the good qualities. Then we will see the example, those 6 qualities which are demonic. There are 3 gates of hell. There are 3 characteristics which been mentioned here, which are considered as 3 gates of hell here. That if we get one of those, we will definitely end up in hell. So we would like to, first of all, again, we need to have the awareness, then only we can avoid it. And then third, right at the end, Krishna says that once we know the differentiation between these, what's the significance of following the Shastras? Now we can read Bhagavad Gītā, but what's the point of reading if we can't implement that? If we don't understand, we don't grab it, we can't implement that on a day-to-day life. And that's the beauty. Bhagavad Gītā is not one of those books which we just pray. We can pray, but the knowledge we get out of it, we need to implement that knowledge. And what will happen, Krishna has said a number of times, but we will see here as well what will happen. Now, at this point, I would like to switch on to different presentation. Okay. All right, so we are straight there. Right. So this is the quick overview. So the very first one, where we will say cultivate Devi. So we have Dev and demon, godly and demonic. We will see those two. Then, as it says, the third part, which is actually the part of the second subpart, three gates of hell, and then how we should follow the Shastras. And while we will follow the Shastra, we can get rid of our demonic tendencies. So, in gist, this is what we're going to see Devi, and then Asura or Sur, Asur, and then what will happen to those people who will follow demonic. Now, the very first thing, there are 26 qualities given, right? In the first three verses, these qualities are given. If we engage ourselves in devotional service, these things will happen. Now, I'm pretty sure everyone here, if we are parents, we would like our children to be fearless, right? We don't want our kids to be fearful. We want them to be great, confident speakers, right? Because otherwise, what's the point? Learning all that, but you won't able to implement just because you are fearful. You can't express yourself. A lot of time, teachers ask the question, and the kids they know the correct answer, but they can't raise their hand. Why? And that's one thing. Abhyam. And these are on the left hand side, we see the Sanskrit, and on the right hand side, in the column way, we see the English version of it. Now, this is what we're saying that even if we don't believe anything spiritually, these things will help us materially as well. However, what we're saying here is that these qualities will take us to a spiritual world. And while in the process of purifying ourselves on devotional service path, on bhakti yoga, we will develop these. So these could be classed as the yardstick. Whether we are improving, whether we are, so a lot of times devotees say, well, we've been doing it for 5-10 years now, but we haven't seen any difference in our life, because obviously it happens gradually. Like when somebody else comes from India or we visit to India, if they have seen the child after 2 years or 4 years, they say, wow, he has grown up so much, or she has grown up so much. But because we are parents, we live, we see the children every day, we don't realize the difference. And that's what, that time, if we reflect back and we see how fearful we were 5 years back, before we started Krishna consciousness, before we started our devotional service, whether we have purified ourselves, whether we have gained any spiritual knowledge, charity, a lot of times, especially these days in COVID, many people suffering and many people, they're doing charities. So all these are considered the results of devotional service, the bhakti yoga. Now, that doesn't mean if somebody does the charity, we can say he is in bhakti yoga. No, because charities, again, we will see in chapter 18, there are different types of charities in different modes. So all of these, they are in mode of goodness. And very soon, the way we said, transcendental. Because even when we do in mode of goodness, we are aware that we are doing the good thing. But when these qualities will become intrinsic part of our personality, so somebody will ask the question and we will just reply back. We don't think, should I say truth or should I lie? We just say the truth. Why? Because that's the part of our personality. And that's what it is. Austerity, simplicity, non-violence, truthfulness. I'm sure all of us would like to have these qualities in ourselves and in our children. Similarly, going on, we will see further. So altogether, there are 26 such qualities. Freedom from anger. Now, who doesn't want it? And anger is actually one of those gates to hell. Now, everyone. We have seen in at the end of chapter 3, end of chapter 2 as well, that Krishna has said the reason we get angry. Why do we get angry? It starts from contemplation. So we want something. Very first thing. Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji, please explain austerity or tapa. Never been able to understand the meaning of austerity.
Haribo. Austerity, Mataji, in very. Okay, I have another slide. And in that slide, the description is also given. But in
Okay.
very simplicity, if we see, so what we can do, we can divide or split these qualities in as per the ashram. So we can say whether grahastha should have it, sannyasi should have it, or brahmachari should have it. And in different ashrams, what does this mean? Now, austerity for brahmachari could be that the brahmachari is a celibate. For us in grahast, when we do ekadashi, that's austerity for us. When we do 2 hours chanting every day in the morning, that's austerity for us. So anything we do out of our comfort zone, then it becomes austerity. Of course, very soon, hopefully by Krishna's mercy, when we will take 2 hours out of chanting, then we might not feel, we will start cherishing that time. And then that will not be counted as austerity. Again, that austerity will become part of our personality. People will think that we are doing austerity. A lot of time people say that you are vegetarian, like all the devotees. When most of the devotees, if you think they are vegetarians, oh, you are vegetarians, you don't eat outside. It's a big austerity.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but of course, if somebody is sannyasi, for sannyasi, this is not the only okay, because this is now already part of it. For them, for sannyasi, they will have to go further. So again, depends on which ashram we are in.
Okay.
Yes. Haribo.
Very good.
Thank you so much. And that's so true. The way Mataji asked the question, we should understand that what does that really mean? Now, there is another one just under austerity, simplicity. Now, people will say, well, it's simple. But when we try to buy expensive clothes to impress someone, not only to us, if you think, whenever we buy something, a car or expensive things, we like to show off. A lot of time people, they just take the picture and put it on Facebook. Why? Now, if you think about it, simplicity could be just the underlying fundamental of the devotional service. And it says, if a tree got fruits, then that tree will bend down in humbleness. So, doesn't matter how qualified the person is, how we will figure out whether the person is spiritual, that person will become humble. The person will have a lot of things to give away, more things. But what we'll see in material life, if materially, if somebody will gain something, for example, the person becomes chartered accountant in the record breaking time, that person will be full of pride. And we see a lot of them in our offices. Any accomplishment, we should have an accomplishment, but we should always remember that who has given us the power to do it, who has given us the knowledge to do it. We have seen in 15.15, Krishna said, I have given you the knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. So Krishna has given us that knowledge. We should always remember that. And similarly, if we see anger, and there's another one in between, which says freedom from greed. Now it says, if we remember that spiritual tree and material tree in between, there's one thing, and that is desire. Now we all have material desire. The day we lose desires, we will become spiritual. But what we can do, we can change our material desires into spiritual desires. We can still have desires, but we can transform those material desires into spiritual desires. And then we will see we are not anxious. We will automatically develop these things. Because a lot of time what happens, people look for the happiness from external things. But when external things, and we know by experience, any external thing will only give us the happiness temporary. We will go and we will buy the one of the best car in the market. What will happen 6 months later? Well, these days you don't even have to wait 6 months. But what happens in a bit? The new next model will come out. The new version will come out. Same thing with the mobile we buy or anything we buy. What happens then? Oh, now we aspire to get the latest and greatest model of anything we are deal with. And that's how, if our happiness is dependent on external thing, we will only be temporary. it will never become what we say eternal bliss. And that's where spirituality comes into picture. That is when we get ourselves in bhakti yoga, devotional service, doesn't matter what we do, doesn't matter what we do. Even if we are sweeping the floor at home or in the temple, that's considered as devotional service. Right? It's all the consciousness, modesty. And this is why I said that these things, whether we believe in afterlife or not, we still would like to have these things in ours and in our family members as well. And then we say these qualities, they will develop itself. Forgiveness. Now, a lot of times we say, we teach our kids, forgive. Now, Aaron and Shivani, they keep fighting with each other. And I just say, how about this? Today, anything. So Aaron is older than Shivani. So I say to Aaron, that how about this? For first half of today, you forgive anything Shivani will do. I said, no, 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 I can't do it. I said, well, that's the thing. How about you try? No, but she will do this, she will do that. Well, let's try. Let's discuss. Maybe 10 times the problem will come. And even if once Aryan will able to forgive Shivani, that's a success. And then he will realize, and he has, that it's not on to her. The key to happiness is with himself. The key to happiness is with us. We give the remote control of our happiness to others, and anyone comes into our life, say something to us, and we get upset. Well, how come we have given the power to others? It says forgiveness. If we just forgive others. Now, this is not like what Gandhiji said, that if somebody will hit on one face, you give another side of it. No. Forgiveness is if something has done by mistake, you say, okay, no worries. I don't hold any grudge against you. That if I get the chance in future, I will see. I will not lose the opportunity. No, you know what you're doing. You know that it's for you. And we will discuss that in three gates of hell as well. Freedom from envy. Now, who doesn't want hell? Jealous, envy. We all want to get rid of them, right? So these 26 qualities are there, which are good qualities. But then we have these qualities. These 6 qualities, they are demonic. Now we all want to get rid of it. And then very first one says pride. Now again, we should honor our self-esteem, but then again, we should not have pride, because when we take the pride, sooner or later that whenever we have a pride, there is a reason for pride, and sooner or later that reason gonna go away, right? If in primary school we were the best, in secondary we will get many more kids and they will be better than us. If in secondary we are the best, when we will join the industry, we realize there are many great people there. What will happen to our pride then? And people work hard, so hard, not to meet their ends, but to get more. And that's where greed comes in. And when greed, desires, they don't get fulfilled, we get arrogant. We become angry, conceit, jealous, envy. And if you think about it, why all these things? So they all come in, there are different grades of them. But if you think about it, they all come together. Sometimes one will manifest itself better or in greater extent, right? Sometimes we will become angry. But if you think about it, why we become angry? And the picture on the right hand side on the top, the person is blind. If you see, the person is blind. Doesn't it happen? Has happened in our lives before. And classic example I always remember, when people break their TV. I love giving this example. India Pakistan cricket match happening, people break their own TVs. Why? I mean, how crazy that could be. India and Pakistan team playing somewhere else, one team got to lose. Well, there could be a draw as well, but chances are one team will lose. What happens? You break your own TV, and then when the reality sinks in, we say, oh. And that's what this picture portrays. When we become arrogant, we become angry. We just go blind, and we don't know what we're doing. we lose the reality. So that's why it's so important. And again, it doesn't really matter whether we believe in anything or not. We agree. I hope if anybody doesn't, let's discuss. I hope you agree that we should not be ignorant. We should, now when it says we should not be ignorant, what does that mean? It's not we say, oh, well, I read the newspaper every day, I have a lot of knowledge. We are talking about transcendental knowledge. The knowledge which reminds us that we are not this body, we are the soul inside the body. It's good to take care of the body. It's good to, because the soul is the driver in the vehicle. It's good to take care of your car, but remember, the driver inside is more important than the car, because the car could break and the driver could just move from one car to another. So take care of the body, it's important. But remember, it's just a vehicle for the soul. It's very, very, very important. And that's kind of ignorance we are talking about. Most of the time, people, they're just working towards their sense gratification. And we do the same. Harsh, we should not be harsh. We should not be angry. We should not concede. We should not. It says that humans have the tendency to cheat. We have cheating propensity. Humans, they have it as per the Shastras. There are four. One of them is this. So if we think about it, and in the second, if we get the time, in the second presentation, we can discuss these in details. But if anybody, I hope it's clear. If not, then let me know. We can discuss it further. And shortly, we do the very first quiz. What we see here in this, it says, if we take now, what will happen? You say, well, I'm happy. If I'm angry, what's the problem? Some of you might say, well, no, I don't agree with you. I'm happy, angry. I don't want to be polite. I'm happy. Well, say what Krishna says. What happens when we become angry? We have already discussed, but as per the Shastra, in this verse, Krishna says, Kamha, Shatra, Dushpa. If it's taking the shelter, if we are under the umbrella of lust, desire, then it's going to take us down. And it's been explained very nicely here in this verse. Bhagavad Puran, Bhagavatam, Canto 5, last chapters, give a detailed description of different hells. If we lie, what happens? If we lie in the court, what happens? If we think, not doing anything, if we even think about another woman, what happens? If we eat non-vegetarian, what happens? If we fetch a plan against someone, we don't do it, but we make somebody else do it, we still get the sin. What happens? Now, again, whether we believe it or not, but these are practical things we can think. If we get angry, we get blinded and we do bad things. But in these verses, Krishna has explained Atatni Naraka. I'm sure we have heard of Narak, Sorg and Narak. This is 16:16 verse which talks about the hell. And then, oof, oof. This is where we say full of false pride, false ego. Remember, we have false ego, we have the mind, and we have the intelligence. Mind is in between. We have the choice. We can turn towards the intelligence and realize that we could develop the good qualities, or the mind could turn towards the self ego, the false ego, and we can develop the bad qualities. It's our choice. The very first thing is that we are aware of it. We are conscious enough to realize that we have the choice. And then we can take the next step, that we have the choice, and I have consciously made the choice that I will go towards Devi, not demonic, not Asura. And then Krishna says, what will happen? We have already said that these people, if we don't follow Shastra, then what happens? Where are we going to end up? Pride, lust, anger. These things will take us down. And again and again and again, it says the birth and life. This is a vicious circle we're going in. For many years, we have been going. Whether we want to stop it, how we can stop it. When we drop these qualities. If we won't drop these qualities, what will happen? As we have discussed, that The root cause of all these six qualities, six bad qualities, is desire. Will you get angry? Can you think of anything when you got angry or somebody else got angry where the person didn't desire anything? Now, only two things happen. Either we desire something and that won't happen, or we desire something not to happen and that happened. Right? Either we wanted something not to happen or we wanted something to happen and other way round happened. That's it. This is the desire. If we accept everything as the mercy of God, mercy of Krishna, we are happy. And that's as simple as that. So these three gates to hell has been explained. If you see three with them, so it says 1621. What are they? Lust, which is desire. Desire of anything. Desire of anything more than what we need. Right? Now, somebody who is starving, a father wants food for the child. That doesn't come under desire, right? Because that's the necessity for the child. If that person will go out and work hard to get the money to buy the food for the children, for the family, for himself, that's the necessity. But when we want a bigger, fancy, much more expensive car, especially we know to show others, to impress others, or to have that status quo, status symbol in the society, that comes under lust. That comes under desire, where we have the material desire. When we want to serve others, to please Krishna, that might not be material desire. Of course, we could have hidden agenda these days. These days, you might have seen a lot of sadhus. They wear nice clothes, sadhu clothes, sannyasi clothes, but their intentions, they try to hide it for so long, but sooner or later it comes out. And that's what we are talking about. So these three things, lust, anger, and greed. Again, if you think about it, they all three are together. They all three are together. If we get one, sooner or later we're going to get others. If we are greedy, we're going to get angry. Greed is anyways after desire. We have the desire. We get more and more and more and more. We don't need it, but we want. That's greed. And when the greed will stop fulfilling, at some point it will stop fulfilling. What will happen then? We will become angry. So these three things we should be careful. All right, okay. At this point, might be a good idea to have a quick poll. So you might see on your screen. And as usual, the very first quiz has 6 questions. The first one, the question, what's the name of it? Hare Krishna. Okay. It's interesting to see how some of the options could be very close, very confusing. right? Okay, so just few more seconds before we close. All right, okay, so I'll close the poll now. Great. Most of the answers are correct. Some of our were confusing. I will share the results in the chat. It's always good to have the poll. It gives us some time to reflect back on what we have discussed so far. And this gives me the opportunity to flick through to different presentation. Now, this is a presentation which is much more in detail. So coming back now where we started, 26 godly qualities we have. Now, what we have seen so far, first section, 26 qualities, second section, first 6 bad qualities, demonic qualities, and 3 what are considered as gates of hell. So these are 2 sections. And then the last one, the Shastric evidence, and we will see that here. But if we see this one, and I will share this slide if we need to, but on the left hand side, we see how do we develop. So now one question could be that we know it very well. We know it very well. But how to develop these qualities, right? Now it says by association of particular modes. Isn't it right? That if we want to feel hot, what we will do? We might drink something hot. The heatness in the drink will transform into us, right? It will get transferred to us. Same thing happens with the association of people, with the association of the books we read, the movies we watch. Now, if we watch demonic movies, the movies full of violence, what we will feel? Even if when we have closed the movie, we are still thinking about it. And how many times it happens? Kids, they spend so much time playing video games, especially fighting games. And even if they finish their video game, they're still thinking about it, they're still talking about it. So these qualities we can develop by association of particular mode: ignorance, passion, and goodness. So obviously we need to try to get to the goodness, and very soon hopefully we will do goodness for that long that we are not thinking that it's goodness. A lot of times we think, okay, this is a good thing to do, so let's do it. But some people, they do it because that's the only way they know. And that's what we call transcendental. They are not doing this because they have made the choice. They're doing it because that's what they are. They are not pretending. They are not making the choice. I want to do it because that's the main thing. We do it a lot of time in the society. We think of something else, but we say something else. We say what we know people like to hear. But when you say what's right, not because of the other people, but because you believe in it, that's what we call transcendental. Out of these 3 modes of material nature. And then when we continue, and this is where I was saying, so again, I will share this screenshot as well. Great to have it. Now it mentions the quality. So number is there. So there are 26 qualities are there in English and in Sanskrit. Then Varna or ashram is there. So fearlessness we could have in sannyas and we could have in grahastha. And what does it mean? For example, charity. In grahastha, what does it mean? Now, a sannyasi is someone who is not earning anyways. So sannyasi will not do the charity we think of. Sannyasi might do the charity of giving the jnana, right? But then he will not think that as the charity. He will think that as his duty. So that charity for sannyasi will not be classed as charity. That will be his dharma. So it will not fall into dana. However, those who are receiving it, disciples, students, they can think that, okay, we are getting this dana. So all of these are there. Vedic study, well, we all should do. It says Swadhyay. We all should do Vedic study, but mainly for brahmacharis. Now, brahmacharis are not what we see these days, that in the temple. In the temple, we see two. We see brahmacharis and we do see sannyasis. Sannyasis who have renounced the world, that, for example, they will never get married. But brahmacharis are those who are learning the path. And then once they have learned everything, they can say, okay, now we would like to start our own family. And that's what supposed to happen. This is how it used to happen. Brahmachari students used to go to the universities in Vedic culture, and they used to learn everything there, and they used to be brahmachari, like celibate. Once they have understood the real meaning of the Vedic culture, then they will come back and start their families. These days, what happens? If you think about it, there's only one qualification. The boy earns. The boy can support himself. He earns enough. Good, very nice. Let's get married. If you're a Brahmin, you might think, oh, whether the person eats alcohol, eat non-vegetarian, drink alcohol. You might think of this. Otherwise, many other sects, you won't even think about it. You just say, okay, the boy earns enough, that's it, get married. But those days, the boy should be a scholar. A scholar means the boy should have completed his swadhyay, his Vedic studies, which we have lost. We're still happening. London Temple, if we go, Watford in Manor, we see many brahmacharis. And I know personally some of the brahmacharis who've been there for 10 years. And then they said, okay, we will like to start our family now. And this is how it's supposed to be. Now, when they live the life, it's according to the Vedic principles, not like doing anything. So on the right hand side, it explains what these things are, a bit more description on each. Right? So I will share this with everyone. So we don't need to remember just now. And this is another one where we say, so we have sannyas. Well, it starts from brahmachari, grahastha, vanaprastha, and sannyasi. Right? So these are 4 ashram. And according to each ashram, which quality we should have, or there was a time we must have. And again, it's not that we are conscious of it. If we live a Vedic life, we will develop these qualities. But again, we could be conscious of that as well, that we don't have it and we try to develop them. And on the right, the varnas. We see what kind of varnas. Now we remember Shudra, Vaishya, Kshatriya, and Brahman. And then it says applicable to all in the middle. So based on where we are, there are different types of qualities we need to have. Yes. Great. So again, I will share that because it's a great presentation. In this, all we can see is the 6 demonic qualities and a bit more about it. Pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, ignorance. And I don't think there is more justification or description required for this. We know this very, very, very well, how it should be. Thank you, Mataji. Yes, yeah. There's another Prabhuji who put these slides together. And I think he's in America. He put these slides together. They are very, very, very useful. As you said it very nicely, very informative. And there are a few more I would like to share. Okay. Think of this, 16. It says network of illusion. Now, what's reality and what we think or we perceive as the reality. As I said, most of the time when we do discussion, a lot of people say, no, this is what it is. Another good friend of mine recently said that, well, I want my children to know a bit of religion. I don't want them to be religiously leaving everything so they won't be able to speak to material people at all. I just want a bit of it, just a flavor, not to get engrossed in it. And that's the mentality these days. And this person himself is a Brahmin. Now, I'm not saying Brahmin is better than Shudra, Vaishya, or anyone. But if you're a Brahmin, the chances are that you got a higher exposure just because of your birth. But of course, until unless we develop those qualities, and anybody could develop those qualities. So a boy or girl born in Shudra or Kshatriya or Vaishya could become a Brahmin if the person will develop those qualities. Because you are not Brahmin by birth. You're Brahmin, and this is as per Bhagavad Gītā, you're Brahmin as per your qualities. And these are the qualities we say. There are many more examples given here. This is what we discuss when we do the detailed Bhagavad Gītā discussion. Like when we do the Bhakti Vriksha every week, which we will. After this, we will start Goloka chart. But this is in detail discussion. But here, this is what we said, that what happens to those people who develop those demonic. Now, even if you will think that there is no place, some people also say, no, I don't believe there is an external place, hell or heaven. Because again, we have not seen it. There's nobody I have met who said, oh, I remember my time in hell or heaven. But we know it very well that if we become angry, then our current life becomes hell, isn't it? Most of the time people say, oh, just because of that little incident, the whole weekend was ruined. Well, what was the incident? What was the reason of that incident going bad? Was it because of jealousy, enviness, arrogance, pride, anger? If you think about it, probably yes. Yes. And this is what this verse is saying, that if we will develop demonic qualities, and in some form or shape, we all have a little bit of it, right? We get angry now and then. But again, if we are conscious, if we keep our association clean, then very soon we will realize either we don't become angry that often, or when we become angry, very soon we realize and we come back to the reality. We come back to the senses. We say, okay, we should not be angry. And this is what people have said. A lot of them, that how devotional service has changed their life. So this is where, and again, this is with the verses, all different demonic qualities and the attributes being explained in detail. And we can discuss each one of those sentences. But of course, now today we will see 3 gates of hell. This is another picture worth printing and hanging on the wall. So it will keep reminding us we should not be angry, we should not have unnecessary desires, and we should not be greedy. And how not to? Not only that Bhagavad Gītā says that we should not do it, Bhagavad Gītā also tells us how not to. The very first thing we have seen, association. Well, if we will associate with those people who get angry, then of course, there's no respite for our angerness. If we will meet to those people who are saintly, if we read the book, these days I'm reading a great book. It says the autobiography of an American Swami. And this is from Mataji's noting, His Holiness Radhanath Swamiji Maharaj. American born Richard, how he turned into a Swami. And over, how many times, how many challenges he faced, but just because he wanted love of God, he overcame all those obstacles. If you read these kind of books, autobiography, if we speak to these people, then we will see these gates will go down. They will fall down. We will not go to these gates. We will not visit them. So association is definitely one thing. How does one become demonic and get cast into hellish life? So again, it tells us that this is the process we go down. So if we don't follow that, then we will be happy. And right at the end, it says that what happens if we follow the Shastras. Of course, if we follow the Shastras, we will develop the good qualities. We will not have the bad qualities. Okay, so before we finish, if there's any question, please, otherwise what we will do, let's do another quiz. Just share. So you got that on your screen. Just give it a go. I'm not saying that I have discussed all the answers with you, but this is what we are looking for, this level of understanding we should have in our life after attending these sessions. But again, remember, we are doing very concise way.
Prabhuji,
Yes, Mataji, please.
Prabhuji, yes, I feel we are born with such qualities, and it's up to us to improve once we get the real knowledge to get out of it. But those may not get the real knowledge of how to get out of it, and they linger on and on. Is it true?
True. It's very true, Mataji. That's right. We have, when the child is born, if we ask the child is honest. You will never see a child lying to us. It's only us, the way we interact with the child, we teach the child how to lie. But you're right. That's what we say. Those people who are in the villages, those people who are like tribal, they have never seen the modern world. They are much more honest and they are fearful. They live with the animals. They can. We cannot, because of what we have done to ourselves. This is what we say conditioning. That the soul is pure, but on the soul, on the top, we have the material conditioning. Three modes of material nature. Either we have put down ignorance on top of it, or different types of passions we have developed. And sometimes, a lot of time, people make the goodness as the fall down as well. A lot of time. Like there was another Prabhuji who said, who went to give away Bhagavad Gita. And there was an old couple, retired couple, and they said, well, we don't need Bhagavad Gita, we are okay. I said, well, what do you do? They said, well, we both are retired now, and we don't think anything bad about anyone. We live in mode of goodness, and we are good. And now, if we don't work hard, transcendenting, going away from mode of goodness, then what will happen? Whenever the chance will come, we will fall down. For example, we will get associated with either the partners, husband, wife, or the children, or the property we live in. Even if we will not think bad about others, we get associated, attached. But yes, you're so right, Mataji. When a child is born, then it says, actually in Bhagavatam, it says, when the child is there in mother's womb, the child remembers the past lives. And the child says, I will never do the same thing again. I will not become materially. I will be spiritually inclined. But as soon as the baby comes out, that's it. The mother, father, grannies give so much love and affection and take away the wisdom. So you're so right, Mataji. If we keep it natural, then the child will be. We are born, and we are. That's why we say we are spiritual beings having material experience. But we just need to be aware. There's nothing else need to be done. The only thing is we need to be aware and we need to be conscious. Very nicely you said, Mataji. Thank you so much.
And
You
also,
reminded us.
Prabhuji,
Yes.
and also I think it's quite a complicated process of how we are and what we develop into with the modes, environment, association, what our parents are. I mean, it's quite a complicated thing, isn't it? Some may be
Yes.
born like that, do the past karmas, past
Mhm.
divine work, but it is because we have seen, being in a sort of public life, we have seen
Mhm.
people, children when they are very young, nice, innocent, good family. As they grow older, association, unis, and they develop bad habits. Some may
Yes.
develop good habits too,
Yes.
but it is very complicated procedure.
It is. It is, Mataji. You're right. We can't say that it's easy. It's easy to understand, but to follow it, it's very hard. And there are actually two things in it. One is from the past life, we got a big baggage, and we have to burn those karmas. We can't really do anything with it. We have to burn the karma. But after that, the second thing is where we are born, and again that's because of our family, because of our previous karma, which family we got, which friends we got. So it's very hard. If somebody was in darkness, now the person is born in the darkness. And darkness doesn't mean that the person is born in the poor family. Person might have born into a very wealthy family, but that wealthy family is not spiritual. Then it's very hard for that person to become spiritual. But based on our previous karmas, we get the opportunities here. Some people get less opportunities, some gets more, but everyone got their own personal journey to work for. Yes. But the thing is, if we do a little bit of work towards spirituality, that always stays with us.
Yes.
So even if 1% we work towards Krishna, we become spiritual. Next birth will be a bit more better in a spiritual sense. So yes, that's right, Mataji. And I think Navneet had said it that, oh, Murli Manohan Prabhuji. So when the child comes out, he forgets it, but they learn again by parents. Yes. Thank you so much. Yes, that's right. Now, a lot of time devotees, when devotees' children are born, then what happens? The parents, if parents have been learning, and I go, very nice couple, devotee couple, mother and father, they both are devotees. And the name of the daughter is Bhakti. That's the name of the daughter, Bhakti. And Bhakti is so nice. And Bhakti is just, I think, a couple of years younger than Shivani. Shivani is 8, so she must be 5.5 or 6. And all these verses, all the philosophy, if we discuss with her, she remembers all. How she learned it from the family. Family does it day in, day out, every day, and she learned it. So Mataji, Prabhuji, they both are doing Bhakti Shastri. So they read their scriptures regularly, they discuss it, and that's how kids learn it. Now, Bhakti must have done good karma in the past to get birth in such a nice, pious family. But even if somebody didn't get such nice parents, is still the opportunity is there. It will be tough. It will be tough. It's like if we did not work hard in the previous semester or previous term, this time the exam will be very hard. And because exam is hard, our marks will be less. And then we will move on to the next class. It will be very hard for us because we did not study last class. It will be hard. But at some point we will have to catch up. Some point we will have to say, okay, now we have to leave. Otherwise, we will keep taking birth, and maybe every birth we will take 1%, half a percent, and one day we will reach to the level we will say, okay, Krishna, now I'm ready to surrender to you. Or some people will work hard in one life and then say, okay, in this life I have done 50% or 70%, and next life I will just cover up, and that's it. I'm coming back to now Krishna. So yes, it's our personal journey. It's not that easy at all. And given the circumstances, that's why it says association is very important. Yes. Thank you, Mataji. Great. Okay, I think it's that time of the day where we close. So, well, we only left with two. Now, chapter 17, chapter 18. Chapter 18 is much bigger, but chapter 17 is also big. But chapter 17, chapter 18 is going to kind of summarize everything. And we are going to talk about almost a lot of things which are so relevant on day-to-day basis in terms of mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. The knowledge, the thoughts, the food, and everything we think of, which different. So it's very, very important to be conscious in what we select. And these things will help us in spiritual life. So with that, thank you so much. Hare Krishna. I
Hare
look forward to see you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mataji. Look forward to
Hare
see you.
everybody.
Hare Krishna. Next Saturday, 10 a.m. for chapter 17. Hare Bol. Thank you, Ajayji. I will share the slides with you. They are very nice. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare